Right, now, the Independent Communication, sorry, beg your pardon, ICASA is holding its public hearings on the draft Sports Broadcasting Services Amendment regulations that were published on the 14th of December 2018. The regulator has received 39 written submissions from industry players on the draft regulations. The review is intended to identify and list national sporting events whilst ensuring that subscription broadcasting service licenses do not acquire exclusive rights that prevent or hinder the free-to-air broadcasting of national sporting events. For more on this, we're now joined from our Pretoria studios by ICASA Councillor Palesa Kadi. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Let's start with these public hearings. What kind of feedback have you been getting and who's been giving you the feedback?
Thank you very much, Peter. We've received feedback from international federations and some of our national federations, and quite a number of interested parties and NGOs and individuals. And many issues arose from those discussions, including the issue of sub-licensing, issue of access. I think those two were quite prominent insofar as the discussion is concerned, and the cost of the rights.
All right, so where does ICASA come into this equation? I mean, your job is to issue licenses, make sure that the services that we get are good and that to protect the consumers. Isn't this an overreach on your part, because you're almost, some would say, interfering in commerce?
ICASA, there is no overreach here. We are a regulator. Our mandate also includes regulating the broadcasting space. So issues of national sporting rights and sports of national interest are within our mandate.
All right, but I mean, I guess where I'm asking is, you've got a broadcaster, he goes out to negotiate rights with someone selling a sport or an event, and then advertisers come to that broadcaster and place ads there. That seems like a pretty sort of arm's length agreement. You're saying to them, you can't have the rights that you're buying.
Maybe there's a misunderstanding or a perception out there. ICASA regulates the broadcasting of national sporting events, and we do not regulate the contracts between our licenses, which can be a free-to-air SABC or a subscription TV, and their partners. Therefore, we do not regulate PSL or any other of those who may enter into private contracts or commercial agreements. So we need to distinguish that right now.
All right, so what's on debate now is where those national sporting events can be seen, and to make sure that not one entity has control over all of them.
Correct. Access is a major intention of the regulations, and we have gone out to indicate and also seek some form of consensus with South Africans insofar as access to national sporting events. And we've seen quite a number of good indicators where SABC was able to reach an agreement with subscription insofar as the Rugby World Cup was concerned. These are the good moves we've observed over time. Also observing the T20 cricket with SABC3 in this regard. So some issues of access means that business continues whilst ICASA is still busy processing the regulations, so that there's more compliance, but also there's guaranteed sincerity so far as access to these sports for all South Africans.
All right, so what has been wrong with the current setup that allowed for monopolies to perhaps control a lot of these sporting events?
I think let me overemphasize the issue of access, and also say that every South African who needs or warrants some form of respect insofar as access to broadcasting content deserves to also have sports in their own homes, do not need to go to anywhere and excessively be part of environments, especially children, to watch sports of national events like the World Cup.
All right. So what happens now? Once you've got these submissions, is it likely that the bill might change slightly, or what happens next?
We are unable to predict the outcome of the regulations. We've received quite a number of submissions. We've also sought additional information and content insofar as some of the submissions were concerned. And we've really received cooperation from many of those who submitted. So we are busy analyzing the content that we've received, but also juxtaposing that against our legal mandate as the authority, but also seeking and understanding where the issue of access will be dealt with, such that we are able to respond to a constitutional mandate, but also make sure that there's compliance, because we as the regulator, we look into issues of compliance amongst our licensees as well.
Your draft bill, how does that compare with solutions that other countries that have faced the same challenges of you dealt with? Is it kind of the direction you're taking becoming, I suppose, I don't know, global practice?
There are unique scenarios out there. For instance, our UK case study indicates that their free-to-air is mainly, 100% supported through the revenue of license-paying citizens. And South Africa's course is very different currently. So we're looking at that balance. We're looking at the social aspects, policy, legal, but also the economic and sustainability of the decisions and outcomes that might come out of these deliberations.
All right. The last time you looked at this was 2010, I think, with those World Cups. The world has changed quite a bit since then, and I have no doubt that another 5-6 years from now, it will be even more complex. Are you already starting to think about that, given that it may be that a lot of people are consuming their vision from entities beyond our borders and perhaps beyond the authority of ICASA?
We are fully aware of the digital citizen that is out there, but also we are fully aware of South Africa's environment, where there's still a number of rural people with interest in the access in the content of broadcasters. So we continue then to represent everyone in this regard insofar as access is concerned. We've looked into some of the scenarios where the digital emergence of content is prescribed, and we see also from the subscription TV's intent, but also from the free-to-air, including SABC, the strides they are taking. For now, there's an obligation. For now, there are issues of access to be attended to, and all South Africans deserve to have access to national sporting events.
All right, okay, final question. The general public, is it still, can they still submit something? Can they still share their thoughts? And if so, where and how?
The process is closed right now. We are busy as the authority looking into the legality of some of the submissions, which is, very thorough and a credible process we want to put forth. so that there's an understanding between our licenses and us as the regulator. So we are unable to take any new comments in this regard. We have received substantive inputs from many people, including a grade 11 learner from Pretoria Boys. So there's been quite an interest in the notion of how best can we have access, and we hope that we'll find ways and means to balance the act, and that South Africans can be able to not be found wanting when they want to watch champions, when they want to watch the sports, which will also deal with many issues, social ills that are out there, in making sure that our youth and many people who are interested in sports do have this access.
All right, so we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very, very much indeed for your insights, and we wish you well on this journey, because after all, you're trying to protect us, the consumer, and making sure that we get the access we deserve. Thanks so much indeed for your thoughts today.